in a bid to stay undefeated on the season. And again, an SEC showdown with Alabama heading to Baton Rouge to take on a number 10 ranked LSU. And joining us now to break down those games, and then we'll get into some NFL games, is Scott Spreitzer from DocSports.com. You can also follow him on Twitter at Scott Wins. How good is Tuesday Night Football, especially when you get to watch the Ohio University Bobcats take care of Boston? Won that game.
I could sit on my couch and watch that, or I can drive about 10 minutes from my house and go see Bishop Gorman High School.
Oh.
And I like the latter.
Come on. The Mighty Mac. I mean, Tuesday, Wednesday games. I mean, that's great for us.
They got the best slogan in Maction.
Maction, yes. Love it.
Scott, what I tell Rock, when I beat that treadmill up, I turn that game on. That's my power walking on the treadmill every Tuesday and Wednesday this time of year and watching the Bobcats make it happen.
Man, I was able to parlay the Browns on Monday with the Bobcats on Tuesday. I mean, it was great stuff.
Wow. I had the Browns on Monday, but I stayed away from the Maction on Tuesday and Wednesday.
All right, let's talk about Tennessee at Georgia. Game day will be there. So many fans are on Tennessee right now. But how about the gambling community?
Yeah, that's all the way up to 8.5 and 9 now in some spots. Circa in Las Vegas just went to 9 earlier today. They were at 7.5 just 3 or 4 days ago. So this is going to be one of those Joe's versus pros games where the average bettor or the so-called square is going to be on Tennessee plus the points, and the so-called pro is going to be on Georgia. 70% of the tickets are on Tennessee, yet the line keeps moving up and up and up, which means the respected money's coming in on the Bulldogs. And that doesn't mean Tennessee can't win or cover. That's just the way it is right now. But the public hits 50% of the time, too. They just lose that big. I got to say one thing, guys. When it comes to the playoff committee, the voting playoff committee, can we get an odds maker? Can we get a bookmaker on that committee? Because, they rank Tennessee number 1. They rank Georgia number 3. Then the line comes out. The number 3 ranked team is 8 to 9 points favorite. And which means even if this was on a neutral field, the Georgia Bulldogs would be favored over the playoff committee's number 1 team. So just wanted to throw that out there. But getting to the goods, Tennessee's offense, they've been feasting on zone coverage, but Georgia, their head coach Kirby Smart is a man coverage guy. Mm-hmm. So I think you're going to see a mix that maybe Hendon Hooker hasn't seen this season. And I like Hendon Hooker. He might be able to overcome that, but it will be something new this year for him. Plus you got that talented secondary for the Dogs. And I know they don't have Nolan Smith, and I know their sack count is down from where it was last year at this time, but I just think Georgia ends up winning this game. I originally made a prediction of a final score of 38-27. I'm going to stick to it. I do have a play coming up in one of the games we're going to talk about. I held off of this one, but I do lean towards Georgia. I might jump in and make a bet, but I kind of missed the best number.
Scott, it's interesting that over-under you're talking about. I was thinking the same thing, but Georgia's defense is better than Bama's defense. And when Tennessee, heck, I was initially thinking when this came out, first one to 45, it could be a 45-42. And I'm, wait a second, this Georgia defense is still pretty good. So I think your prediction, as far as scoring-wise or keeping on the under, is pretty much intact, at least the way I see it. The way once you start talking about defenses, I think that makes more sense.
Yeah, guys, you know what? When you look at that win over Bama by Tennessee, 110,000 screaming faithful at Knoxville, so they had that advantage. Alabama was as undisciplined as we've seen them in the Nick Saban years. They committed 17 or 18 penalties, constantly shot themselves in the foot, made life tougher on themselves, and it still took overtime and a field goal to win against Alabama. So I don't want to take too much away from a team when you beat Nick Saban. But, man, they needed a lot of help just to win by 3 at home at OT.
All right, number 2, you got number 4, Clemson at the upsetting Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Last time I looked, Scotty, it's Notre Dame who was getting 3.5 on this one at Notre Dame. How good would that be to see Notre Dame finally catch lightning in a bottle, beats the Cuse last week, and take care of the Tigers at Clemson this weekend at, throw a couple of Hail Marys there if you could to touchdown Jesus.
Well, it wouldn't be too good in my house because I have Clemson. And they're up to 4, by the way, just in the last hour or so. Most books have gone to 4 now, but, Clemson is power rated 9 points better than Dame on a neutral field. So you got to figure, is South Bend worth 6 or 7 points? They've already lost to Stanford at home. They've lost to Marshall at Notre Dame Stadium. They escaped against California at home. They're bad through the air. They're 106th in passing yards per game. And Drew Pine, his last 3 games, 49% completion rate, 4 touchdowns. And the problem is you can't run on Clemson. Even if the offense for Clemson isn't what we got used to under Trevor Lawrence, the bottom line is the defense is still top-notch. Can't run on them, so they'll look to stop the run. They'll force Pine in the Irish passing game to beat them if they can. And here's an interesting stat that I found. No defense in college football, none, 0, 130 teams, is worse in the red zone than Notre Dame. And Clemson has scored on 38 of 39 red zone trips. That's a little scary if you're the Irish. And I think we're going to see a lot of Will Shipley against this Irish run defense. It's one of the worst in what's called a defensive success rate. And success rates are basically, you throw out like total yards per game, rushing yards per game. They don't care when you get those yards. But success rate metrics are based on when you got those yards. 3rd and 15, a 5-yard gain doesn't mean as much as 3rd and 3, a 5-yard gain. And so that's thrown into the mix. And when plays really matter, Notre Dame has not been good against the run and defensive success rate.
All right, Alabama heading to Baton Rouge. LSU, 13.5?
Yep, 13. Well, actually, 13.5, total around 58. Bama the chalk here. And, boy, we got some fun matchups this week. I guess the best thing for LSU in this game is it's nighttime in Baton Rouge when this one kicks off. So,
scary.
A lot of fans get a little chance, get a little lubed up at Death Valley, which is always fun. They rock the joint. Alabama, they've been undisciplined. We just mentioned that against Tennessee. But it's been several times this season against A&M, against Texas. Probably could have lost both of those games. The only thing is LSU couldn't run against Tennessee, and they also gave up over 250 yards rushing and passing, and that was in Baton Rouge. They've got to be able to hold this Bama pass rush down on offense, and the offensive line has had issues at times this season. And then defensively, the amount of passing yards given up against Ole Miss and Tennessee I thought was too much. I bet Clemson. I'm going to stay off this game. I think Bama wins by 14, guys.
Hey, Scott Spreitzer, you can reach him. You can go to DocSports.com or tweet him at Scott Wins, joining us here on the right Toyota guest line. All right, let's flip the script on National Football League. The Seahawks at the Cardinals. Last time I looked, it was the Cardinals -2. Has that changed, or do you think that event should be a pick 'em after it's all said and done?
It's 1.5 in some books, but still 2 in others. So I think it would take like maybe something that would happen to pop up or something for this to get down to a pick, something unexpected. Most shops still have Zona as a 2-point favorite. Listen, Seattle got positive injury news over the past 24 hours. As you guys know, Lockett, Noah Fant, both upgraded to probable. And I have to say that I'm surprised at the success of Geno Smith this year. I really am. I thought he'd be riding the pine by now. I'm surprised at his success and the efficiency of their offense. They're top 10 in the league in yards per point, and they've been really strong on early downs. That's the key to this team. They've been able to get good chunks of yardage on 1st and 2nd down and stay ahead of the chains. The defense near the top 10 in efficiency too. Cardinals bottom 3rd in both of those categories, but the Cardinals didn't have Hopkins until the last couple of games, and they did lose that game to Seattle. This is going to be the first time this season that Geno Smith is going to have to face a team for the second time. And we'll see if that makes a difference when they see what Geno's been doing, what this offense has been doing. It could make a difference here. You look at Hopkins, 22 grabs, 262 yards in 2 games.
Yes.
I think they get the win this week, guys, Arizona.
All right, let's talk baseball. I'm a Phillies fan and a little disappointed after what we saw yesterday and the day before, but now they head to Houston. Is it going to go more than game 6, or do you what's Vegas? Where are they leaning in?
Talk him off the ledge.
I don't know where to go.
Talk him off the ledge.
It's one of those. Yeah, it's getting up there, man. Houston, the price on them, so they're the bettors are coming in on the Stros, and it's gone from as low as $1.35 favorite. Now I see some books with $1.50 favorite for this game. And, here's the thing, man. You got to be not only a great baseball team to win a championship and a World Series and a best of 7, you got to be really lucky.
Yeah.
Houston's had a lot of good fortune. And I don't want to take away like McCormick climbing the wall to make that catch or some of the plays they make.
Sure.
They've done all the right stuff. The pitching's been better. But they've also received a little bit of fortune. When you talk about 2 men on, bottom of the 8th, a liner down the first base line if it's, not caught, if it's 1 inch to the left, all of a sudden you're talking about Philly taking a 4-3 lead last night in the 8th inning. Houston's done that the entire postseason. If a ball was just 1 inch to the left or right, it's a base hit for the other team. There's always the chance that the Philly bats can do damage. The problem is, guys, I think Wheeler I think it's just a lot more than arm fatigue. You know, he had the forearm injury during the course of the year, missed about a month of the season in August. He did not look good at all in that first outing. And I was listening to an interview with Pedro Martinez, kind of knows a thing or two about pitchers. And he was saying yesterday, he goes, I am positive that there's injury issues to Zach Wheeler. I got another guy who's real close to Dusty Baker that I know real well. And he was saying, not that Dusty said this, but he was saying that he thinks probably a week or two from now, we're going to hear about Wheeler maybe having to get a little surgery done.
Ooh.
And I'm guessing by watching Wheeler that he's been told that it's not one of those things where it's going to cause permanent injury. So if you want to go out there and pitch, go for it. But boy, he just looks to me like he's got